Nas dropped his second album, It Was Written, in July 1996. 2 years prior he had dropped Illmatic, a debut album which many critics have named as one of the best rap albums of all time. So how did Nas follow up such an acclaimed project? First of all, Nas switched up the production on It Was Written. On the advice of his then manager Steve Stout, Nas targeted a more mainstream and commercially appealing sound. Although Illmatic was critically received well, it wasn't selling the same amount of units Snoop Dogg and Biggie were around that time. The trackmasters were brought in to oversee a large portion of the album's production, while the likes of Dr. Dre and Havoc of Mobb Deep produced individual cuts on the album. It Was Written wasn't a collective assemblement of 5 producers woven together like Illmatic was. It was spearheaded by Nas and the trackmasters. Nas developed his lyrical content. The balance of street life and complex rhyme patterns of Illmatic, which had encapsulated 1994 in a sort of time capsule, were left behind on It Was Written. The album was a collection of ghetto stories set against a backdrop of violent mafioso persona. The move into the mafioso rap genre exposed Nas to the mainstream, as it followed Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links and Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, which had similar subject matter. In fact, around that time, Nas adopted the moniker Nas Escobar on his featured verses, after famed drug lord Pablo Escobar. Between his debut and the rollout of It Was Written, Nas increased his exposure with collaborations with Mobb Deep, Kool G Rap and Raekwon. Although Illmatic had universal acclaim, Nas was not as well known as some of his contemporaries, in part due to his shy personality and at the time his reluctance to give interviews, but his increased exposure helped It Was Written become Nas's best ever selling album to date. With the expansive range of guest production, the mafioso persona, and array of guest features, some fans accused Nas of selling out, and so did some critics. Given the success of Illmatic and its impact on hip-hop, it was always going to be a tall order to follow up a 5-mic album, but perhaps It Was Written was a necessary departure from Illmatic. The Sophomore album is considered by some as the most important album in a rapper's career, as it tells the audience if the artist is capable of being more than a one-hit wonder, solidifying a foundation for longevity. It Was Written did this. It showed Nas could cross over from underground to mainstream rap, spawning his best hit singles at that time, If I Ruled the World and Street Dreams. This not only showed artistic growth, but that Nas could coexist and even lead in the subgenre of mafioso rap. Raekwon, Biggie and Jay-Z were all breaking out at the same time in the mid-90s, and they all dropped well-received projects in the genre. It was important for Nas at that time to establish himself amongst the best. There are many underground artists who never make a transition into the mainstream, and while they retain artistic relevancy, their potential audience remains limited. Whereas Nas widened his appeal, achieved his best-selling album, collaborated with some of the biggest names of the time, and took on and took over a new genre by the end of 1996. Illmatic is universally accepted as a classic, whereas It Was Written gets mixed opinions on its classic status. But It Was Written, at the very least, is one of rap's greatest sophomore albums. It solidified the foundation for one of rap's most celebrated rappers. But what do you think? Is It Was Written a classic? Let us know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe for more content. This has been Hip Hop Frequency. Thanks for listening.